Well, good morning. It's great to see you, and welcome back to the shop where, as you may know, we typically focus on small, around the homestead, budget-friendly projects or household repairs that pretty much anyone can do with a limited budget and toolkit. But this morning we're going to do something just a little bit different. We are going to do an unboxing / review of this tool that I just picked up at Harbor Freight. So this is a pocket hole jig kit that I picked up on sale after applying a coupon and my membership discount. It was just under $50 out the door as compared to what I can see out there online, similar units going for around $100 and some going as high as $300. So this is something that I think I'm going to be able to use on a couple of projects we've got coming up on the channel. Without further delay, let's dig in and see what we bought. And then we'll see what, if any, installation and assembly is required. And finally, we'll put it through the paces and see how it works. All right. So we've got several bags of screws, some miscellaneous tools, and a drill bit. Not sure what that is. More screws. We've got instructions, probably the main piece itself. Let's take a closer look at things. All right, as I said, we've got several bags of screws, varying lengths here, and you know, as I understand it, these screws that are used for the pocket jigs are specific to, you know, this kind of work. So not just any screw will work typically with these. But we'll put those aside for right now, come back to those. As I said, I'm not sure what that is. We've got some instructions here. I'm sure I'll find out when I read the instructions. We have a drill bit and then some pieces here. Looks like inside here we've got what looks like the collar for this drill bit. We'll get into how that might work in a second. And then some smaller screws and bits in here, some Allen wrenches. So let me read the instructions and then we can get to maybe taking a look at the main piece here. All right, took a quick gander at the instructions here. Let's go through this bag of miscellaneous stuff here. So it appears that these screws are for attaching the main unit to, you know, a board or a bench so that it doesn't move around. We've got, you know, two tiny screws here that actually fit in here, and we'll talk about how there's one space there and one space there, but they're stored over here. So I'm going to put them in there so we don't lose them, and we'll talk about how those might be used in a little bit after we start demonstrating how this thing works. So these two machine screws here with the washers and the Allen heads actually go with this piece here. I'm going to put them in here and we'll get around to how that works in a little bit. So I'm just going to put those there so we don't lose them. And then finally we have the drill bit itself. Really this is the business part of the whole unit. This is the piece that drills the pocket hole. And this, as I mentioned, is the collar that goes on that creates a stop so that the hole doesn't get drilled too deep. When you put this drill in, and just imagine there's a drill up there turning this, and it's going down through here, and it's cutting into the block of wood. You don't want it going through and hitting the base here. It's going to ruin the base. It's going to dull the blade. So you don't want it going all the way down. You need some sort of stop, and that's what this collar does. It creates a stop. You can tighten it right there so it stops just shy of that. And typically, you know, that you can eyeball it just like I'm doing right here, or you can put some sort of something into place, like for example, for this, like this washer here. And then all you do is just tighten that up. Okay, you take that out, and now that drill can't go down and hit that base. That's what that's for. Okay, so let's turn our attention to the main piece here. I'm going to get this drill out of here and maybe use it as a pointer. But there's really only a couple of moving parts here. Let's start with this end here. This is what determines how far apart your pocket holes are going to be on the piece that you're drilling into. Let's just say that this little piece of 2x4, we were going to put some pocket holes in there, and we wanted these holes to be closer to the center. We would loosen up this knob here, and then we would just slide these in until they, until they reach the desired width of that. And so in this case, everything is based off of 0 here. That's the center. And we would be going 1/2 of an inch on one side and 1/2 of an inch on the other side. And tighten it up, and those don't move. You can also move them farther apart or closer. But that's a real handy. That makes it very versatile, and you can change a lot of different things around. The other moving part is this cam right here. And what this does is holds your piece in place so it doesn't move around when you're drilling into it. So for example, if we were drilling pocket holes in this scrap piece of 2x4 and we wanted to clamp it in place so it didn't move, we would simply put that in there, move this cam up, push it into place, and now that piece is secured in there. It's not going to move. If you've got thicker pieces, you can adjust it by moving this knob here backwards a little bit. You can also move it forwards quite a bit for thinner pieces. Speaking of thicker and thinner pieces, that's what these two guides are for. That's why there's two of them. If we've got a thicker piece, we use the guide that has the greater angle. And you can see with a 2x4, if we go down through there and this guide gets to the bottom, it's drilling a pocket hole that ends up almost in the center of that 2x4. But if we have a thinner piece, like example this 1/2 inch piece, you can see that that same angle would take this almost all the way through that piece, and it would be coming out the other side at the bottom. So we use the shallower angle for the thinner pieces, and you can see in that case it's ending up right about in the middle of that 1/2 inch piece as it drills the pocket hole through. Now remember, these two machine screws that we stored here that I had indicated actually go in these two stanchions in these spots right here, and those are actually also used to adjust the angle of a piece. Usually a thinner piece kicks the bottom of the inner piece out a little bit so that the pocket hole that's being drilled actually goes into the shallower angle and does not go through that thinner piece. So that's what those are for. So that's a real nice feature for thinner pieces, to be able to adjust for thinner pieces. But what about a thicker piece? Even with the cam open as far as it can go, you can see that this 4x4 piece doesn't fit in the jig. There's no way we can fit it in there. So how do we deal with the thicker piece? Well, that's where this piece comes in, and I said we'd get back to later. So let me show you how that works. The first thing we're going to do is we're going to loosen this knob up so that we can take these stanchions out. And when we turn them upside down, we can see they've been drilled out so that they can receive these machine screws here. So what we do is we take this piece, and we take the stanchion and we slide it in that slot right there and move it along until the hole that's in the bottom of it lines up with this piece. We can tighten this up. We snug it up pretty good. And then we do the same thing with this on this side. Slide it in there, and then we can put this screw in the slot, and that way the stanchions are adjustable. We can tighten that up to almost snug, and we can adjust where we want our pocket holes, how far we want our pocket holes apart. So let's just say that's it right there. So now our 4x4 can be placed there, and you can either hold it by hand and drill it, or if you've got a clamp handy, as I do, you can simply clamp the piece to it, and now you can drill it. So after all that, I think it's pretty safe to say that the folks that designed this have made a tool that's pretty versatile and can be used in a lot of different circumstances with a lot of different sizes of material. I think if I had one criticism, not really a complaint, but a criticism, it's that there's a lot of miscellaneous pieces here that, in a typical workshop, stand a pretty good chance, at least in my workshop, of getting lost, getting misplaced. And it would be nice if there was a pouch or something that contained all of these things. I'll probably have to find a Ziploc bag. It's interesting that they came up with this idea of being able to store these two tiny little screws with some tapped threads here. I don't know why, you couldn't take these pieces here and do the same thing. Just tap a couple of holes here, put these in place, find a place for these Allen screws at least, and maybe something for this collar. You lose any one of these pieces, and the versatility of your tool becomes much more limited at that point. So that would be my one criticism. I may, in fact, try to get some taps. I might even have some and drill a couple holes and be able to make something that contains all of these pieces so that I have them close at hand. But that'll be for another day. In the meantime, let's take a minute and see how this tool actually performs when put to the task. Okay, I've got my stanchion set to the width that I want. And I got my 2x4 here. I'm just going to set it in here and clamp it in place. And then we'll insert the drill and go. We drill down until we hit the collar, stop. Okay, that's one. Second one here. All right, let's see what we've got. Unclamp this. Got a couple of nice pocket holes. Okay. Now this may walk on me a little bit here. I'm not too concerned about that. I really just want to see how well this attaches these two pieces together, how these pocket holes and the screws will attach and join these two pieces together. So again, if it walks a little bit, I'm not too concerned with that. Let's start there. Yeah, see, it wants to kind of walk a little bit. Probably want to find a way to clamp those down if you can. I think you could say that did its job. If I could cut the board a little square, it would probably look even nicer. So there's that. Let's try a thin piece and see how that works. Okay, this is a piece of 5/8 that I've clamped in here fairly securely. And remember, with the thinner pieces, we're going to go with the shallower angle here. So we're going to be using this guide right here. So let's go with that. Got my collar in place. The next one. All right, I don't know if you saw that or not, but that started walking up a little bit. And I think that's a function of the fact that I didn't make this that tight. So I'll have to keep that in mind going forward. But I had to push it down, and we got a little bit of tear out as a result. Try that again here with that tightened up a little bit. We'll turn it around, do the other side, and just see what happens. I'll make sure that that's a little tight. Yeah, that's much tighter. Let's try this again. Yeah, that didn't move at all. So I think the first time through, I just hadn't tightened this cam up enough. All right, let's see how these boards attach to each other. So that's one thing to keep in mind. These screws are some sort of brass or alloy. They're not magnetic. So you're going to have to start them, at least put them in place, because when you tip them like that, they'll just fall out. Let's see how we do here now. Yeah, and again, boy, that's a really strong joint. That's great. I have no complaints about that at all. So in terms of the functionality, you know, again, I think this jig works just fine. So let's take a second to review quickly what we've got here, and then I'll let you know what I think. So in summary, if you go to Harbor Freight, depending on your local sales tax, you can pick this piece of equipment up for around $60. Certainly if they have a sale, or if you've got some coupons, you can pick this up for, you know, even less. And, you know, for that kind of money, what you get is, you know, a solid piece of equipment that is well machined, you know, made out of aluminum, with a lot of different accessories that make this piece of equipment very versatile. It can be used for a lot of different size projects. I would prefer if they had some kind of, you know, pouch for some of these smaller pieces so they don't get lost, but that's a minor detail. And at the end of the day, I wouldn't hesitate to recommend this to anyone who's, you know, interested in getting into a pocket jig, certainly on the entry level end of things, and probably even up the food chain as far as pocket jigs go a little bit. This is a nice piece of equipment, and I'm pretty pleased with it. I'm happy I bought it, and I'm pretty sure I'm going to get a lot of good, solid use out of this. So if you're interested in a pocket hole jig, you know, I wouldn't hesitate to recommend, you know, go get yourself one of these at Harbor Freight. Listen, thank you for sticking with me through this review. I hope you found it interesting. I hope you found it informative and helpful. Just going through the process of reviewing this pocket jig, I know that I learned a lot, and that's important because I know that coming up at the channel, we're going to have quite a few opportunities to use this piece of equipment. And if that sounds like something you'd like to watch, you know, feel free to check the playlist, check back with us, and we hope to see you in the next one. In the meantime, thanks for stopping by as always, and we'll see you later.